In a world where winter reigns eternal, where a land is swallowed whole by an unforgivable sea of white, a warrior named Yuki stood at the mercy of the frozen earth. Her breath freezing before it left her lips, her limbs heavy with exhaustion. The weight of the snow pressed down on her, like a burden of 1,000 unspoken sorrows. She was lost, both in body and spirit, unable to find her way out of the frozen tomb. Yet, Yuki was fearless. She had been forged in a crucible of conflict, a warrior who had once been known for her unshakable resolve. But here, in the desolation of endless winter, even the strongest of wills could be tested. Each day, she pushed forward, seeking some sign, some light to guide her. But the sun remained hidden behind a veil of cold and cloud. The snow was not silent. It whispered her name, memories of battles fought and friends lost. The wind carries voices, echoes of her past, taunting her, calling her by her name. But Yuki knew she had to press on. She couldn't stop. Not now, not here. Her fingers, once capable of gripping a sword with unrelenting strength, had long since lost feeling. Her body moved on instinct alone, driven by a force she could not name, a purpose that eluded even her conscious thought. She stumbled, fell, rose again, driven by something more than survival. It was then she saw it, high above her, atop a jagged cliff that pierced the sky like the edge of a broken blade. It was a bird, a great bird, its wings blazing with fire of the sun long lost in this world. Yuki's heart quickened. She had not seen the sun for months, but here it was, alive. The bird was not an ordinary creature. It was a beacon, a light in the darkness, a force of nature, of life itself. She watched as it circled above the cliff, fiery wings casting warmth and light across the land below, melting the snow in its wake. It was as if the land itself was awakening in its presence. But the bird was weak, wounded. Its flames flickered as though it struggled to maintain its existence in a harsh world. Yuki knew she had to reach it. She had to help it. With what strength she had left, she climbed up the cliff, her hands blooded and raw from the jagged rocks. Every step was a battle against the cold. She would not give up. The bird needed her, and in a strange way, she needed the bird. When she reached the summit, the great creature lay before her, its wings folded against its body, its eyes dimming. Yuki knelt beside it, her breath ragged, her body trembling from the effort. She placed her hand on its feathers, surprised by the warmth it radiated from them. It was like touching the sun itself. For days, she stayed with the bird, nursing it as best as she could. She spoke to it, though it never answered. She told it stories of her past, of the battles she had fought, of the people she had loved and lost. She told it of her dreams, her hopes and her fears. And in return, the bird gave it silence, a silence that was somehow comforting. But despite her efforts, the bird's light continued to fade. It was dying. And when the moment came, Yuki was there. She held its head in her hands, her fingers tracing delicate lines of its feathers. Yuki felt something within her break, something she had not allowed herself to feel in a long time. Grief. When the bird passed, Yuki was left alone once more, the world around her as cold and unforgiving as it had always been. But the bird had left something behind, a gift, or perhaps a burden. Its feathers, large and golden, were scattered across the cliff, glowing faintly with the remnants of the sun's warmth. Yuki gathered them, each one a memento of the creature that had brought light to the darkest days. She fashioned a weapon from the feathers, binding them together with strips of cloth and her armor. At the heart of the weapon, she placed one of the bird's eyes, a brilliant orb that still blazed with the last of the sun's light. It was a sword unlike any she had ever wielded, a weapon that held within it a memory of the sun. But as Yuki descended the cliff, weapon in hand, she felt a strange sensation. The land around her, which had once seemed so hostile, began to change. Snow melted beneath her feet. The sky brightened, and for the first time in months, she saw the horizon. The weapon she had crafted was not just a tool of battle, it was a force of life, drawing the warmth and light from the world around her. At first, Yuki did not realize what was happening. She believed the world was healing, that the sun was returning. But as the days passed, she began to notice the truth. The light was not returning, it was being absorbed, drawn into the weapon she carried. Each time she swung the blade, a little more of the world's life was taken. The trees grew brittle, the air grew cold, and the once vibrant land began to fade. Yuki was horrified. She had created a weapon that was consuming the very thing she had sought to protect. But the weapon was bound to her now, a part of her. She could not simply cast it aside. She carried it with her, a constant reminder of her failure. In the end, Yuki found herself standing once more at the edge of the cliff, the sunless sky stretching out before her. The weapon hung heavy at her side, its eyes dim but still burning with the last remnants of the bird's light. She looked over the frozen landscape, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she had unwittingly become the harbinger of this desolation. But there, deep within her chest, was a warmth, a tiny flame that refused to be extinguished. It was a memory, a memento of the bird she had tried to save, of the life she had once fought so hard to protect. And though the world around her had grown cold, the warmth remained, a beacon of hope in the endless winter. With his final breath, Yuki raised her head to the sky and whispered a promise. She would find a way to restore the light. She would find a way to undo the damage she had caused. And until that day came, she would carry the sun within her until the darkest of nights.